Welcome to the Higher Ed Jobs Podcast, Ask the Expert Edition. I'm Andy Hibble, the Chief Operating Officer and one of the co-founders of Higher Ed Jobs.
And I'm Kelly Sherwin, the Director of Editorial Strategy. Today we're happy to have Today, let's try that again. Okay. Today we're happy to have back Dr. Hao and Dr. Mallory Neil, who have discussed professional development with our audience in the past through both written pieces and on a previous podcast. So we're excited to have them back today to talk about this question. So here is the question that's submitted by our listener. I'd love to attend a professional conference that aligns closely with my goals, but my institution doesn't currently have the budget. How can I make a strong case to my supervisor that attending would be a valuable professional development opportunity? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. And then thank you, Kelly and Andy, for having us back. We're really thrilled to be here again. So in thinking about today's question, we came up with some categories, right? So in thinking about wanting to attend a professional conference, but the institution doesn't currently have a budget, maybe it is a hard no, which it really is out of your control. And in some of our responses, we'll outline some alternatives that you may be able to tap into. And then maybe there is yes right away. Maybe there is a lack of communication and understanding of why you need to attend this conference. And maybe within your unit, you're able to kind of relocate some resources. And then the third option is maybe there is a yes in the future when things are more in alignment, right? So we're going to talk about some of these strategies through the lens of the individual, what you can do to advocate for yourself, some of the factors that may depend on the environment and the context you're in, and also thinking about the arguments that you may be able to make for the unit or at the institutional level. So let's start with kind of the individual level, which really is about self-advocacy, right? So we want to start by encouraging you, whoever asks this question, to have a mindset shift, really thinking about, okay, beyond just you wanting to attend this conference, how can you make a case for not just about you, but how this experience of you going may benefit your unit, or allowing the unit that you're in to have access to the information or knowledge that's being shared at the conference. And then, as we mentioned before, right? So maybe the unit currently doesn't have a budget. So your goal is to make a case for the future so that it can be added as a line item for the future. And then how to go about advocating for yourself, like some of the things we talked before, really is trying to think about giving your supervisor or whoever you're trying to make a case for some time to think about why you need to attend this conference. So we recommend by creating a one-page summary about the conference, especially if it's a conference that is not often attended by your colleagues and the people in your unit. The purpose of the conference and your goals for attending, and how really your goals overlap with the purpose of the conference, right? So this overlap may then help you make a greater case about some of the positive outcomes for not only you, but your role within the unit. Another layer to think about this is kind of why you need to be at the conference, right? So maybe there is an opportunity for you to be more than just an attendee at the conference. Oftentimes we know units are more likely to support their employees to go if they know that you have a presentation that's being accepted, or you may be able to find a role within that conference as a volunteer or serve on a committee, right? So in both Mallory and my experience in the past, we've worked on different groups where it's integral for the committee members to be at these conferences. And this can be a great opportunity, even if you don't get to go this year. Some of the conversations and the work that you're doing within these committees will happen throughout the year and off the conference season as well. So it can be still a fulfilling experience if networking is part of your goal at the individual level for attending the conference.
Yeah. And so, in addition to kind of the self advocacy piece, there's also a really strong benefit for doing some research and considering kind of some of the environmental circumstances, especially when it comes to kind of university budgets, what's going on in your current situation, and then also kind of logistical considerations for what goes into attending a conference. So first, I think and you just mentioned kind of developing maybe a one-page proposal. In that, you want to show that you are being budget conscious. And so we found success in kind of proposing, like if you're going to your supervisor, giving them maybe 3 different versions of what you attending the conference looks like that are at different financial contribution levels, right? So there's maybe your option A, that is kind of the full conference experience. It's going to be the most expensive. The option B, that's kind of you've cut some components down, so you're showing, okay, I can maybe attend at a lower level or for a shorter amount of time and it's going to cost less, versus option C, which may be the bare bones option, but it still gets you some exposure to that content. And so they may be willing then to have a conversation and saying, okay, the employee is being thoughtful when it comes to kind of thinking about what attending a conference looks like financially. And so maybe giving them some options of what you attending could possibly look like. Also, there are other funding opportunities that may be available to you. The conference itself may have different grants or scholarships that you can apply for, and show that you're applying for them. So in your justification, saying these are some of the external funding pieces that I found and I'm making some active efforts in order to secure them. There may be some conferences where there's an in-person and a virtual option. And while the virtual option may not have as much direct engagement, it may still give you exposure to some of the important content. And so is that an alternative when just going in person is a hard no and it's not going to be possible for you because of the budget? A couple other things to think about is if you're looking at a national organization, do they have regional branches that are closer in proximity to your location that would be easier to get to, where you could do a road trip rather than having to hop on a plane? Or is it somewhere where you have a friend that you maybe could stay in their extra guest room rather than having to pay for a hotel? So that could be an option too, where you still get exposed to a lot of similar content. And a lot of times those regional conferences can be really thoughtful and engaging, and you're meeting people that are in a closer geographic proximity to you. And then lastly, is there an opportunity to quote unquote double dip for your trip? So say you're going to a location for a conference, and in my work, I do a lot of employer engagement and alumni engagement. Are there different groups or kind of constituents at that location that you could maybe set up some meetings with before and after the conference, so that you're able to kind of build relationships and do additional work for your unit that is beyond just attending the conference as well? So these are just some ideas, and taking into consideration some of the environmental, financial components that may help you build your case as you're trying to talk to your supervisor about what some of your options are.
I love both your advice, and I do like the fact that you expressed the importance of the employee making sure they are answering their question why. Like, you can't just go to your supervisor and say, I want to go to this, because they want to know why, and making it not just about you and my, like, because I just want to go because I think it'd be a fun conference, but like you keep saying, like how it connects to the institution's goals, how you can help the department. What are the next steps? Like, what's going to happen? The takeaways after you come back, things like that. So making sure it's not just self-centered in the need, but how, like you said, it can benefit the overall institution as well. And then also, I love the fact that you're saying, like, being aware, unconscious of that it's, it is a financial issue. So if you could break it down into different things that you're willing to do, again, not just making it about me and this is what I want to go and I want to, stay here and have this budget for food and all that, but being conscious of other factors as well.
One of the things I've learned about doing the podcast is if you're the last person to speak, you end up dealing with the elephants in the room. So I can't agree more with what all three of you put out there. And I think It's an extremely thorough and thoughtful approach to answering this question. But I'm gonna maybe deal with some of the elephants in the room that I'm not thrilled about talking about, and I don't think anybody really likes to talk about. This topic is an absolute multi-layered topic with any employer, because and I'm going to address it both from the person asking to go to the conference, but the supervisor and how they handled this request. From the person asking, why are you asking? Is this just traditional? Is this something new? Where it's coming from? Are you about ready to go into an active job search? And as much as you want the knowledge, really going out there and networking and putting your face forward, you might really need to be doing this. But on the supervisor side, this is something that really speaks to candidates, how much you're willing to invest in their professional development, because it's a little bit of one for me and one for them. And if all you're judging is what the institution gets out of it, I think you have to remember retention is one of the things the institution gets out of it, and the employer needs to keep good employees engaged. The other part, and probably the biggest elephant in the room currently, is particularly post-COVID, getting professional development dollars to go away is more and more difficult. The online conference where the content can be delivered with the same outlines and the same ability to hear the content, minus all of the parts of a great in-person conference, is something that there's an option. Mallory, I love the idea of putting together those options. The online one is definitely one of them. And maybe there's just 3 different conferences that you present 3 different options, with the online one being one of them. I think on the candidate side, I'm going to go a little bit of a mercenary here and say it's also DIY. If you're doing that sort of analysis and you're talking about a minimal investment and it's in person and it's local or close, and you can absorb, I know people's budgets are tight, particularly the way the cost of living is today. You have to realize that this is an investment in yourself, and that the ability to network with people is so important. I do think, once again, going to the regional side of things is a great way to look for that. There's lots of great resources. What I would say in every one of these instances, we kind of talk about looking at the current ads of jobs being posted as something that's a good career hygiene sort of thing to be doing, whether you're in an active job search or not. But I'd also put out there is the conferences that are most important to you, keep looking ahead, not just this year, but next year if they announce it. Where's the national conference? Where are the local conference? And start circling those dates, blocking them on your calendar, and thinking about them. Because having a sense of how all of this lines up is also, I think, something that's important for your career path to think about. And I think it's a hard subject because as much as I do think an organization gets value from somebody going to a conference, I also think going to that conference is extremely valuable to your career path for you as a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Andy, I think you actually probably read our mind. We had some additional points we wanted to make, and I'll take on kind of the manager perspective, and I'll let Mallory talk about, like, for institutions, like, what does it mean when you kind of endorse your employees to attend conference, right? So we know that in higher ed, retaining talent is incredibly difficult right now. When a lot of quiet quitting is happening, right? So professional development as a priority is a lot of people, when they're looking for jobs or looking for transitions, they are intentionally asking for or asking about during the interview process, right? So attending conference as a standard practice may or may not already be in the unit, and can be something for supervisors who are resource conscious to think about. And a lot of times as managers, you may be given the opportunity to attend a conference, and maybe you have already attended this conference 10 times, right? So you can try and maybe give your own opportunity to your supervisees, especially when people are trying to take vacations or have family obligations, right? And if there are really limited budgetary resource for who gets to go to the conference each year, and you have multiple team members, maybe try to come up with a kind of a schedule or a rotation to see who gets the opportunity to attend a conference each year. So there's transparency and equity in doing so, right? And then lastly, kind of piggyback on your idea about like how attending conferences is really valuable. By encouraging your employees to attend the conference and come back with the information, to host maybe brown bags or lunch and learn sessions to share that information after conferences to encourage some actions to be taken within the unit and really demonstrate to maybe the manager's manager that there is immense value in attending these conferences.
You actually read my mind because I was going to bring it up. I know this question is for someone who is currently working, but when Andy talked about the, looking at from both the employer and the employee side, bringing it into the negotiation phase, if you are in the job search, we've talked about this before. If professional development and these conferences are really important to you, then yes, ask about it at the appropriate time. But then on the flip side, from the employer side, include that in the job description. Let candidates know that you care about their development. So I'm glad that we were able to talk on both sides of the table, and hopefully this is helpful to the person that submitted this question. So thank you for the question, and thank you, Mallory and E, for joining us again today.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for whoever sent this question in. It's a fantastic question that really is thoughtful, and I hope the conversation is as useful as it was. I hope the conversation is as useful to you as we intended it to be. If you have a question that you would like to ask our experts, our current one, or any of our experts, please feel free to email us at podcast@higheredjobs.com, or please send us a direct message on X @higheredcareers. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking real soon.